A rare yet extraordinary sight in Riyadh. Senior officials from US and Russia sitting across a long wooden table. A Moscow no longer isolated but on the same table with Washington, in a position to dictate talks. A sight many in Ukraine, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, will have a tough time digesting. This is what happened in Saudi Arabia today, where top delegations from Washington and Moscow discussed many issues, but most pivotal, the future of Ukraine. Yet evidently, it seems Kyiv may not have as much of a say in its future as President Zelensky may have hoped, as both Ukraine and the EU were left off the table in the first key meeting that is expected to initiate negotiations towards an eventual truce or peace deal in a roughly 3-year-long war. While US Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized that this meeting was primarily to establish communication and work towards restoring US-Russia ties, saying that they are not going to pre-negotiate any end to this conflict, Russia set its demands on the table. No NATO membership or troops in Ukraine. Yet compromising to say Ukraine joining the EU is its sovereign right. The two countries agreed on 4 key goals: re-establishing embassies in their respective capitals, the US appointing a high-level team to help end the war in Ukraine, beginning to discuss geopolitical and economic cooperation that could eventually end the Ukraine war. With this meeting, the Trump administration highlighted a tectonic shift in Washington's approach to Russia, dramatically moving away from the Biden administration's efforts to isolate Moscow, leaving European leaders scrambling ways to support Ukraine. Meanwhile, in Turkey, on an official visit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he is postponing his visit to Saudi Arabia until March 10th, after Kyiv was excluded from the US-Russia talks in Riyadh, an evident reaction to the diminishing position of Kyiv in decisions regarding the country's future and its survival. While today's discussions in Riyadh mark the first high-level attempt to negotiate an end to Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, which began the war in 2022, the meeting did little to answer key questions regarding Washington's plan to end the war, offering few details about Trump's peace plan for Ukraine or Russia's willingness to engage. Despite the flurry of diplomacy, Russia's forces in eastern Ukraine kept up intense assaults in several areas, especially in eastern Donetsk, highlighting that while talks are beginning, the war is far from over, with just days to go before the war marks its 3rd year. Disha Bagchi for NDTV.